let's scoot on down to Double A and talk about a prospect who I gotta say, I think maybe we're both aligned in that like we haven't been the biggest like proponents of this guy over the couple of years that we've been doing the show, but he absolutely deserves some attention and deserves some love right now because Kalai Rosario has been melting baseballs in August. Um, so let's just recap his numbers from both 2024 and 2025 because it's kind of an unbelievable step forwards in the right direction here. 67 games at Double A in 2024, and if we're recalling, I believe he had a couple of like challenging seasons with injury. Like he repeated the Arizona Fall League, but he missed significant time due to injury. In 2024, he hit 10 home runs in 67 games, a 102 WRC plus. So like just like an average bat for the level, a lot of swing and miss, a decent approach, kind of like an E-Rod light skill set. 2025, he has now accrued 115 games at Double A, repeating the level. 864 OPS, 23 home runs, 25 stolen bases at an 81% clip. And there's a lot of kind of supplementary metrics here that just support keeping an eye on him. He's extremely patient. His swing rate's only 39%. That's like super, super low. He's walking close to 14% of the time. So it's a 364 on base percentage. He does strike out a ton. Like there is swing and miss in this profile. It's 27.6% K rate at Double A. And the bat to ball skills, I think, are the question here. He's kind of like right hovering around that threshold of like you might be able to get by. His overall contact rate 73%. I want to say major league average is around 80. So that's a struggle. But what do you make of Rosario? We really haven't talked about him much, but he's, to his eternal credit, like 2025 has been a massive rebound and he's putting on an absolute show at Double A at the moment.
Yeah, and I think, prior to where you picked up his career, he was the Midwest League Player of the Year when they were the champs, right?
Yep.
And so he's always kind of been on that radar, but not like in the middle of it, right? He's kind of been on the periphery where he's been overshadowed by E-Rod. He's been overshadowed by then Walker Jenkins. He's been overshadowed by, the bigger, better, brighter prospects. And it's got to the point now where it's like, oh, we got to pay attention to that. And he was exposed and obviously unselected in last year's Rule 5. With the Twins roster construction the way it is, and I feel like the word is rebuild. That needs, you trade 10 guys. Now it's time to rebuild. Like, you put him in that same conversation with Kyler Fedko as, can he be a serviceable corner right-handed hitting bat? And I think you'd say, well, he's a step behind him because Fedko gets promoted and Rosario doesn't. But the reality is that Rosario has recently turned 23 and Fedko turns 26 soon. Yep. So like we've basically said Fedko's got to get added, then Rosario has to get added, right? And I think that, when I alluded to other right-handed bats potentially in the outfield, like that, I would love to see kind of the youth movement where you have them both available and just kind of give them opportunities. And if one of them pans out, great. If they both pan out, super. If neither of them do, then you can go back to the drawing board. And does that mean they're ready to face big league pitching versus signing a $10 million stopgap right-handed hitter next year? Probably not. But at some point, the organization just has to go the way of development versus trying to win, right?
Yep. And so, and Rosario is like a really interesting kind of litmus test for that approach potentially. And here's the thing, you mentioned the comparison with Fedko, and I think that's a good one. Right-handed, power-oriented bats that do it in different ways. Like Calario has like legit raw juice, whereas Kyler Fedko is great at pulling the ball in the air. Rosario is not a good defensive outfielder, such that like I have like doubts whether he would be able to handle a corner spot even kind of competently. And that's kind of the wondering there, I think. And, when we hear the post-trade deadline talk from the front office of like, we want to build an organization that emphasizes speed and defense more. I think Rosario is maybe kind of emblematic of maybe the old approach where we're going to find guys who can hit. We're going to find guys who have pop. We do not care about the defensive home. We'll figure that part out later. Eddie Julian, Jose Miranda, like there's so many examples. And I think we may see a transition away from that a little bit in the coming years. Merrick Houston being the like most obvious recent example of like, this is before anything else, a glove. And so that is interesting. He is a really like interesting bubble candidate. And someone asked about potential roster adds and questions. So we'll come back to that in just a second. But Rosario absolutely crushing at AA.